God is just. God is also the only judge until the time when the saints judge the fallen angels. Right now, the Satanic kingdom is the accuser. In this Christian journey I'm walking, during the process my understanding of God changed from the religious teachings into the real relationship, or a much better understanding of who He is and who Satan is. Jesus won. I learned that deliverance ministry teaches that the demonic still have power, and they do if you allow that thought to take hold. That's why deliverance ministry is a modern doctrine. We are surrounded with temptations of sin and modernized doctrine that teach a weak gospel. And because the teaching has power that you can materially feel, the same way witchcraft is popular because it has power in the material world. People believe the power is from God. However, deliverance ministry at its core teaches that it's you that God needs. You need to continuously seek deliverance because Jesus wasn't enough. You bring the kingdom. You see, before these dangerous doctrines were created, an individual seeking God would learn the gospel and have one prayer of demonic cleansing, one baptism, and learn Christian traditions. This also includes oral traditions. Go forth and sin no more. I'm going to give you direct examples from the people who created the modern doctrines and inserted them into the churches, of which have removed the ancient traditions. Have you read Alice Bailey's The Externalization of the Hierarchy? In this book, you learn about dominionism. You learn about Nar and the Seven Mountain Mandate. You bring the kingdom, which all grew to popularity through this book and through the finances of Freemasonry. Its teachings really expanded in popularity in the 1970s, the same time as deliverance ministry. The externalization of the hierarchy is theosophy. These quotes are from the founders of theosophy regarding the church. The founder of Lucifer magazine in 1887, Helena Blavatsky, and editor Annie Besant, along with other occultists, believe that Christian churches were the key to introducing the doctrines of Lucifer to large masses of people. The 1904 annual report of the Theosophical Society stated, "I believe it is through the churches and not through the Theosophical Society that theosophy, the worship of Lucifer, must and should come to large bodies of people in the West, the Western Church." Transactions of the Theosophical Society, H.P. Blavatsky and Besant, 1904, page 377. The foundations or access to the churches had to have been built before this event, and I exposed this earlier in the series, where and how the church has been infiltrated. 1912, the Theosophical Society stated, "Our lodges continue their propaganda work, such as lecturing, talking on principles we are trying to put forward, preaching, and other activities in connection with Christian churches and other organizations." Theosophist magazine, Annie Besant, 1912, page 88. The externalization of the hierarchy refers to the concept introduced by Alice Bailey, which suggests that a spiritual hierarchy of advanced beings will become more visible and influential in human affairs, guiding humanity towards a new age of enlightenment. This idea emphasizes the role of these spiritual entities in shaping social, economic, and political systems for the betterment of humanity. The externalization of the hierarchy. Part 5. The Return of the Christ. Your spiritual goal is the establishing of the kingdom of God. One of the first steps towards this is to prepare men's minds to accept the fact that the reappearance of the Christ is imminent. You must tell men everywhere that the masters and their groups of disciples are actively working to bring order out of chaos. You must tell them that there is a plan, and that nothing can possibly arrest the working out of that plan. You must tell them that the hierarchy stands and that it has stood for thousands of years and is the expression of the accumulated wisdom of the ages. You must tell them above all else that God is love, that hierarchy is love, and that Christ is coming because he loves humanity.
And I remember one day during a deliverance, there was a little break in it, and Jesus showed up. Not that he doesn't show up, and not that he's not in us, but sometimes he shows up in a greater manifested form at times. And when he did that, I'm like going, okay, he's here in this form where I can get questions answered a lot easier. And I go, Jesus, what did you mean? What were the two? I asked him two questions. There's the first question I asked, which is going to kind of segue to another topic later on in the sessions. But I asked him, what did that mean when my mom gave me to you? And he said, your mother, because what I'm going to be talking about next session is going to have a greater understanding of the functionality of the kingdom and how the kingdom works and how God works within the kingdom. But he said that your mom gave the rights to you over to me, to where I respect the rights of a parent. So when a parent has a child, they can raise the child any way they want. Me being God, I cannot interfere with that because that is their child. That is their offspring. So when your mom did that for you, she gave full parenting rights over to me to parent you from that day forward. And then a year after that, I went to Bible college out in San Dimas, California, right out of LA. It's a Foursquare college. My uncles are two Foursquare pastors, and so I thought it would be a good place to go. So I went to Bible college, and in that time, I remember I went down and did a mission trip in Brazil, and I really loved Brazil, and I love missions. I love going to those places. I love, experiencing cultures. And then I came back, and I felt like the Lord had told me I was going to go live there, and it wasn't the case, because when I came back, and the Lord said, no, you're to go back to school, because I dropped out of school previously of that. Bible college, I did 1 or 2 years in it, and I'm like, well, no, this is not for me. And the Lord said, go back. And I'm like, no. And at that point, I just kind of fell back into that place. And the way we got connected through Facebook, and maybe that's the reason why a lot of us know each other. The reason why I use Facebook was I've just used it as a platform to influence. And everything that I try to say is tied around getting people to go out and do this stuff. That's really the motivation of why I'm trying to break mindsets in people and try to change the way people are thinking. Because when the mindset changes, then the people will change, and then the people will be more willing to go out and change their environment. So sometimes God is purposely shaking things up. When Martin Luther came on the scene, he divided the church. And he had to do that because he had to bring a disunity to what was being done at that moment, or we would have still been in the dark ages, and we would have still been probably really fearful of God in so many ways, because we would have so many mindsets that had not been broken. So unity is not always the thing that we're to go for at the moment if God is trying to shake things up. In other words, I believe we're coming to a place where there will be one day we are going to unify universally as a church. I believe we're getting to that place, and there are people out there who are provoking us to think differently. And, Bethel is one of them, Bill Johnson, Chris Valentin, Graham Cook. The list goes on. There's so many people out there. Heidi Baker, David Hogan, they challenge the way we think, and they push us to go further outside of our norm. So there's a dynamic there that we've just kind of got to think differently on. The Word of Faith did do a lot of good things, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think we wouldn't be as far as we are today if it wasn't for that. But like with any movement, there's some good and there's some just garbage that comes with it, We're just trying to weed through stuff. So, like Praying Medic says, eat the meat and spit out the bones. And the first thing that we need to do when you're going to get healed is you have to take responsibility. And you have to admit where you've made the mistakes. Because God can't deal with you in that, because you're not giving him the permission to. And so we've been taught through wrong parenting situations in our past, there's nothing more than seeing the full-on reality of what we've been taught about our entire life and see it come and manifest fully in front of us. You see real evil there. And I've done over 1,000 deliverances, and I do it on a regular basis every single day. And I've had conversations with a ton of demons and angels and all this stuff. But this stuff is real, and the enemy, we talk about it, but the enemy really goes after these mindsets. It's all about how you think. God wants to transform us from the inside out. People come to me all the time for healing. And these are people that have been prayed over by everybody. They've been to Bethel. They've been to the healing rooms. They've been prayed over by Curry Blake, Todd White, Dan Moeller, everybody. Andrew Womack, David Hogan, and they have not gotten any healing. And in a nutshell, not everything gets healed from an authority. An authority, speaking authority and power over something. People in church history, the mystics, a lot of the mystics, it's recorded that many of them lived 400 to 500 years, some of them 600-700 years. Some of these mystics lived a long time. The only way that would be possible was their entire being would have been cleaned out in that way, because the glory, again, comes from the Spirit. It doesn't have any blockages in their soul, and the glory starts to pervade the body and rejuvenate the cells, and the body can actually do what it's supposed to be doing. It's not going to go into that decaying process. When you commission angels, they're yielding to the glory inside of you. You are a general to an angel, just like Gideon was. Hey, you mighty man of valor. It's just that because the church has been so brainwashed through a lot of religious thinking, we really have not understood the potential of what we're really capable of doing. There's so much that God wants to begin to unlock, which is what we're doing here. So when I work with people, I go after their image of God, and I want to find out what they believe about God. I can get them to forgive so-and-so. I can get them to do a lot of cool stuff. I can get them to encounter angels. I can get them to do a whole bunch of stuff. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about the image of God. What me conveying this message tonight on the image of God has set people free of so much junk, and has kept me from having to do a lot of deliverance. There's some things you just don't need to always do deliverance on, and even inner healing on, when the person changes their thinking. And that's where the teaching comes in. So if I'm going to sit down with the person, I'm going to start teaching them first. And they want me to pray over them and do all this stuff, and they want to feel fire and all this stuff. I go, that's not what's going to set you free yet. I want to start knowing what you think about God, and let's start tweaking that.
This is further information on these spiritual beings found on Alice Bailey's website. The hierarchy of light. Throughout time, the idea of a group of wise and enlightened beings working behind the scenes to guide our planet has been conveyed in spiritual teachings, in literature, and myth. This group, known by various names, such as the spiritual hierarchy, the Masters of Wisdom, the elder brothers, has ever come forth in times of crisis, and today will be no different. Great teachers such as Socrates, Shri Krishna, Muhammad, the Buddha, and the Christ have all been members of the hierarchy. In ageless wisdom teachings, we're told that the masters have been described as the rare efflorescence of a generation of inquirers. They work primarily behind the scenes, protected in the remote areas of Earth, and it is futile, therefore, to seek them out upon the physical plane. They are individuals of extraordinary capacities. Through the repeated experience of life in form, under the law of rebirth, they eventually achieved self-mastery and freed themselves from the confines of normal human existence and entered into a higher state of consciousness. Because of their relative freedom, they possess a tremendous ability to wield spiritual energy, thus their power to serve, to love, and to heal. Satanists who become little gods when they die, walk in, die, walk in, or what occultists call incarnation. The hierarchy works ceaselessly and could be compared to a great army working for world upliftment. They are the inspiration for the major changes being implemented in the world, yet they take no credit for the work that they do. Through the process of spiritual impression, they influence those leaders and progressive thinkers whose minds and hearts are receptive to the new and forward-looking incoming ideas. Their work extends to all the aspects of our planetary life: politics, education, religion, art, science, psychology, and economics. These are the 7 mountains. The masters work with deliberation, free from any sense of speed toward their objectives, but they do have a time limit based on the law of cycles. There are periods of major opportunity of which the hierarchy takes advantage, and this present period is one of a major opportunity. In the coming decades, members of the hierarchy will begin the process of externalization, moving outward onto the physical plane. They will again walk among humanity to help usher in the new age and prepare human consciousness for the reappearance of the world teacher. This externalization process will cause tremendous changes because of the hierarchy's enlightened leadership. The course of human affairs will be irrevocably turned towards the light and towards the realization of the divine plan. This will work out most noticeably through the establishment of human relations and goodwill among the peoples of the world. In preparation for the externalization, humanity has an important part to play. One way that we can help is through the daily use and distribution of the Great Invocation, one of the oldest and most powerful prayers ever given to humanity. And all who use it produce powerful changes, both within themselves and within their environment. Since 1945, this prayer has been used by millions and is now translated into almost 70 languages. It is the most potent tool available to us for planetary transformation during this time of expectancy. Deliverance ministry, which has risen through these modern churches, teaches a cyclical requirement to constantly require deliverance. You give demons legal rights. It's a lie. And it's a lie that I have taught earlier in my videos. However, we know Jesus won completely on the cross. Completely. Being in agreement that demons have legal rights gives them access. Who taught this legal rights nonsense? Not the apostles. But you just read about the takeover of the Western Church by the occult societies. Repent and go forth and sin no more. Know that your sins are paid. Participate in the traditions started by the apostles to keep you from backsliding. Know you are free because the work of Jesus is absolute. For some of you, What I'm about to say may sound too different in so much that it comes across as heretical when placed against modern doctrines, or, as I've already shown, Freemasonic doctrines. Also, if you are one of those individuals and you're still here, kudos to you. This is why it's so important to admit to yourself that you can be fooled. If you can admit this massive fact, then you will allow yourself to be challenged, and people who are living in fear don't like to be challenged. So, guess who's not living in fear? Narcissists don't like to be challenged as well. There is a reason that the angry God of the Old Testament and loving God of the New Testament is taught. It's because the synagogue of Satan got a hold of the church and taught the wrong doctrines and interpretations to the people. God does not change. So when God says he will do something, it is because he is the final say and the judge, just like a judge in court. It is the prosecutor or adversary who challenges the matter, and the defendant or the defendant's proxy who tries to stop the prosecution from allowing a judgment. God allows plagues, earthquakes, floods to happen through a judgment. It's not God that causes an act or an act of God. God gives a judgment, and the ones trying to destroy you will cause the grief. Revelation is a series of judgments, and it's the satanic world affecting man, and this goes into hyperdrive when man loses dominion through loss of faith in the fallen Rome earth, Revelation 12:12. God gave the Torah to stop sin from causing judgment to the Hebrews, and when they sinned or committed great sin, they were punished or were destroyed by the demonic through judgment. In Numbers 25, 1-9, the Hebrews had sex with the Moabite female temple prostitutes, and a great plague came through the camp, killing 24,000 people. That plague happened because the sin on the land allowed the demonic entrance. When Phinehas destroyed the Moabite woman and the Hebrew in the tent, the plague stopped because the great sin was stopped. God wasn't causing the affliction. The sin the individual has participated in brought the affliction through spiritual means. Torah was created to guide man away from this sin, and therefore away from judgment. Genesis 6:11-13. The earth was ruined in the sight of God. The earth was filled with violence. God saw the earth, and indeed it was ruined, for all living creatures on the earth were sinful. So God said to Noah, I have decided that all living creatures must die, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. Now I am about to destroy them and the earth. The judgment during the time of Noah was a great flood. The fallen angels coupled with the daughters of man, this served multiple goals. 1. Destroy the gene pool of God's children through genetic corruption. 2. Create a being that is part angelic and part human to give dominion over to the fallen angels through their children. 3. To prove to God that man is easily manipulatable and isn't worth keeping. And by proving this, God should allow the fallen angels a place for themselves, free from man and God. Consequently, that place was created. We know it as hell. Hell is a place for all of the anti-God or the satanic kingdom. So, in understanding the basic principle, I ask you, did God cause the flood of Noah? Did God open the firmament and destroy all of those people? No. God has the final say as the judge. But man, in their evil, destroyed themselves. Like Babel, they tried to enter the heavenly kingdom. In their great plan, they cracked the firmament above and below. God, through judgment, allowed their plan to flow. God has the final say, and thus he rightly takes the responsibility. I have decided that all living creatures must die, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. Now I am about to destroy them and the earth. God gives you what you desire, even if it will bring you your end. That is true free will. Technology broke the firmament and allowed the water to pour in. The technology was built by man, but taught by the fallen angels. This is the occultic tale of Atlantis, the nation that drowned. It is important to understand the difference between false signs and real signs from God. If God has made judgment and allowed an action because of that judgment, then it is important to attribute that action to God and not to man, even if man performed the action. God is always the final decision maker. Since the fallen angels do not have dominion over this land yet, they require man to have access to technology that would mimic what God would do in times of judgment, like a parasitic infection to create a plague, or weather tech for flood disasters and hurricanes. Biblically, we know the corrections God has made during times of judgment. God allowed the flood to cleanse. He allowed earthquakes, for example. When Jesus gave up the ghost, his spirit shook and tore the ground. 1 Kings 17. Drought was used to bring to heal, all through judgments. When Jesus came, he healed the sick as a man, raised the dead as a man, walked on water as a man, and cast out demons as a man. And through Pentecost, we received the Paraclete, or the Helper, the Holy Spirit. So what is the purpose for man to manipulate earthquakes, storms, droughts, and floods? The Masons, White Hat and Black Hat, want to erase God from your mind. They want you to believe that technology is all that's required. So when disclosure comes, the judgment is at hand, you will attribute all disasters to man and the Black Lodge Masons, the Synagogue of Satan, the Bill Gates, the Clintons, the royal families, or the Klaus Schwabs, who are the obvious villains of today, if you're paying the slightest bit of attention. You're supposed to know that they're evil for the Hegelian dialectic to work. They've been thrust into media for the last 40 years, but behind the Black Masons are fallen angels, their children in material and spirit form, and the laboratory hybrids playing the role of evil aliens. Even the high-level Masons that have died are still here on Earth as human spirit demons, and they are guiding people.
You know, people think, oh, it's romantic to be a vampire. Well, no, it isn't. And I never was a full-blown vampire, because what I was told is that when I went through this initiation, and that at some point I would just die and become a full-fledged vampire and undead. Nosferatu is the Romanian word. Well, I was told that if I kept doing this, that at some point, the word they used was discorporate. I would discorporate. I would die and live forever as a vampire. Just like, you know, the Dracula figure in fiction, who was like 400 or 500 years old. This goes back to the dawn of time, the idea of the vampire, the idea of people drinking human blood. You know, you go to any culture, you know, in Asia, Africa, the Middle East, even Native American, you know, they all have, of course, it's called different things in different cultures, but it's the idea of a corpse rising from the grave and living on human blood. It's an almost universal human, you know, pathology. There was a hose filling me with occult power through my heel, and all of a sudden, I felt all of this dynamic life force just drain out of me over a period of like one day. And I felt like something a cat dragged in. Like I had things like I could see, you know, people's auras. I could look into their bodies and see diseased organs. And all of this is demonic. It's called radiothesia. And there's whole books on how to do it. And I was able to do that, and all of a sudden it was gone.
Just as the remaining Theosophist Masons will be playing a starring false light role after the disclosure event in the false utopia or the Great Awakening Age. Because when the fallen angels inhabit Earth fully and live with man, they will do what today's known technology can't do. They will perform miracles that will be used to guide you away from God and from salvation, miracles that will confuse even the elect if it were possible. and this will be done through technology. They will also encourage you to merge with the coming quantum technology that will imprint you with the AI. Technology like the coming medbeds, which the Q PSYOP has people so excited for. This imprinting will make you easier to manipulate. Please watch my medbed video on Rumble, BitChute, or Odyssey. YouTube won't publish it. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Sir Arthur C. Clarke, Grand Master of Science Fiction, British Freemason. First layer of the onion. I took a picture of a row of clouds that didn't move for hours. They can appear like a miracle. How can a cloud not move in the sky? And why do we have these clouds today? Second layer. Because we have technology that can produce clouds. We have ships that use a misleading terminology called antigrav. Just look at the TR-3B. And it is old technology. You can find it under patent US 20060145019A1, triangular spacecraft. Vehicles and systems for weather modification. Now, ask yourself, why emulate a cloud? Third layer of the onion. The first thought is that a cloud is simple camouflage that most people will ignore. It's just a cloud. Fourth layer, a cloud is a perfect spy vehicle that can gather intelligence at will and would be extremely valuable at deploying chemicals. Fifth layer of the onion. During the Hebrews' 40 years in the wilderness, after they left Egypt, they had a cloud hovering over the tabernacle during the day. If you can be like the Egyptians and mimic the same miraculous actions, for example, transforming your staff into a snake, it would diminish the actions of God in the minds of man into just showing people a simple technology. The sixth layer of the onion, you should know that the disclosure event will teach all of man that the acts of God are just technology, that we just don't yet understand. The Freemasons have been repeating this for decades through their scientism, TV, books, and other forms of media, which has been preparing us for this event through a tactic called revelation of the method. They will teach that we have been created by aliens and enslaved by religion. The entire final 2 seasons of Stargate represent this notion. However, God is not religion, and you require a personal relationship with Him, not a man-made doctrine called religion. Just understanding the clouds that we see today teaches you about God, or what is of God and what isn't of God. Isaiah 28:16. Therefore, this is what the Sovereign Lord says. Look, I am laying a stone in Zion, an approved stone set in place as a precious cornerstone for the foundation. The one who maintains his faith will not panic. Matthew 24:24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. False signs also require discernment, real spiritual discernment. When 2 angelic forces are in front of you and they look the same, how will you know which one is which? The deceptions will be this difficult. So allow me to introduce you to the Great White Brotherhood. The Great White Brotherhood Ascended Masters. The Lord Buddha, the Lord Maitreya, Rishi, Agastya, the Maya Koan, the Lord Vaivasvata, Manu, and even the false entity that will call itself Yeshua. Fallen angels acting as aliens will be active in the Great Awakening Age. These are the ones who will call themselves teachers and saviors of man, showing them how they too can ascend into godhood. And this is from the Galactic Souls website, galacticsouls.com, Understanding the Great White Brotherhood. The Great White Brotherhood and concepts steeped in spiritual and esoteric teachings presents a fascinating window into the profound depths of mystical traditions. This brotherhood, often shrouded in mystery and revered across various cultures, is believed to be a spiritual organization composed of ascended masters, enlightened beings who have transcended the physical bounds of earthly existence. These masters are said to guide the evolution of humanity and the planet from the higher planes of existence, working through love, wisdom, and spiritual power to uplift all beings. Just so you know, that includes animals. We're all going to be vegetarians in the Great Awakening Age. The Theosophical Society, founded by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, Henry Steele Olcott, and William Quan Judge in the late 19th century, played a pivotal role in introducing and expanding upon the concept of the Great White Brotherhood. Blavatsky, in her seminal works, The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled, described the Brotherhood as a hidden collective of spiritual beings who guide and influence the spiritual evolution of the world. Blavatsky claimed to be in contact with these ascended masters who imparted the esoteric knowledge that formed the basis of her writings. Remember that Helen Blavatsky also teaches in her book, The Secret Doctrine, that in order to be a god, you must be both male and female. This is also found in Kabbalah. This is why there are so many MTFs and FTMs in the entertainment and political field. I show this for the people who want to believe theosophy is benevolent. Blavatsky was a satanic pet, and everything that grew from it is designed to destroy you. Back to the website. The teachings of the Great White Brotherhood emphasize the unity of all life, the presence of divine spark within each individual, and the potential for spiritual ascension through personal transformation and self-realization. Central to their philosophy is the law of karma, the principle of cause and effect, which underscores the significance of one's thoughts, words, and actions in shaping one's destiny. I expose this practice of karma, or balance, in the Bible in my The Great Canadian Illusion video, where the occult kings of the Bible commit evil and must atone by giving wealth. This satanic creation is the response to Messiah rising from the dead 3 days later, and the only option the satanic horde have is deception. And the answer God gave us for the deception is something the Great White Brotherhood will never have: the Holy Spirit that the elect possess. Because of Jesus rising from the dead and joining the Father, the deception has adopted another name besides the Great White Brotherhood. This name is the Ascended Masters, an empty corruption that once again tries to copy God's creation. Lies and doubt are the satanic horde's weapons, and that is the reason for the great deception, or grand delusion. These fallen angels, walking among men, will be so seductive that the population will not be able to resist them. Only the Holy Spirit in you will allow you to see the truth. The elect will eventually be worn out. This is by design, and why you are warned to carry enough oil with you.
They are the masters of wisdom, the lords of compassion, the society of illumined minds. They have many different names. The Mahatmas of the East. They don't come exclusively from the East, but they live in the remote mountain and desert areas of the world, like the Himalaya,
the Andes, the Rockies, the Carpathians, the Gobi and other deserts. And from there, from behind the scenes of our lives, they have beneficently overseen the evolution of humanity from the very earliest times. From the point when we were all running around, probably naked, early animal man and woman, we have come to a point today where we look at ourselves somewhat civilized, a little bit. It's all due to the influence and the protection and the stimulus of our consciousness of these perfected men.
Now, when you talk about that, are you talking about people like the Buddha and Jesus Christ?
People like Hercules, Hermes, Krishna, the Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad. These are all members of that group. And when people think about Jesus, they think of him up in the sky, sitting at the right hand of God. Not at all.
So you're talking about the great teachers of all time.
The great teachers of all time come from that same spiritual center of which the Lord Maitreya is the head and leader.
Question might be, are you a missionary, a theologian? What are you, and where is this all stemming from?
None of these things. I'm not an evangelist, a missionary. I may be a man with a mission, but not a missionary. You know, there is a difference. I am a painter, an artist, who was contacted way back in 1959 by one of the close disciples of the Christ. The Christ is really not the name of an individual. It's the name of a great master, a great, powerfully, highly evolved man. In fact, the master of all the masters. And the masters are men like us who have really preceded us in evolution and finished this evolutionary path on which we are all set. I was contacted by one of these masters who lives in the Himalayas early in '59. Soon after that, he said, now our master, the master of all the masters, has something important to tell you. And then the voice of his master, the Lord Maitreya, to give him his personal name, who is the master who embodies what we call the Christ principle.
The energy of love. So he's the Lord of love.
Lord Maitreya is not a name which most Christians would associate with the Christ. What is his relationship to the Christ?
Maitreya and the Christ are one and the same individual, and he worked through Jesus by overshadowing Jesus 2,000 years ago in Palestine. His consciousness entered into that of Jesus at the baptism, and from the baptism to the crucifixion, Jesus was the Christ.
And that's the most usual form for the manifestation of the teacher, the avatar. Just as the Buddha before him worked through the vehicle, the Prince Gautama, from about the age of 19, manifesting himself as one of the avatars for the previous age.
This time, the Christ himself, the Lord Maitreya himself, has come into the world.
He appears to people in the thought form they have of the one they are awaiting. Christians are awaiting the Christ, so they see him as the Christ. Hindus await him as Krishna, they see him as their idea of Krishna. Buddhists await him as Maitreya Buddha. And
so he's kind of the universal teacher,
the
universal God?
The world teacher. The teacher for all groups, religious and non-religious alike.
There have been, according to your writings, lots of signs and signals, lighted crosses in the United States a number of times.
Indeed. Yes, in the church in Tennessee, there's a little fundamentalist Baptist church in which 5 huge 40-foot high crosses of light lighten every single evening. And if you're inside the church, you look through 6-foot windows, and there's a 40-foot cross outside. And then miracle healings occur in the church.
Now they have healing waters?
There are healing waters too in many parts of the world. Nairobi, where he was when that picture was taken, in Tlacote near Mexico City, Nardana in northern India.
Why has the Christ stayed so behind the scenes when there are millions of people starving in the world? Why doesn't he come out and solve the problem?
By karmic law, he cannot simply create all the food and share it out and give it to all the starving millions. And we would say, oh, that's good. We don't need to do anything about this, you see? Clap our hands. This absolves us from our right to do it. It's our problem. He has poured into the world a new energy, which he calls the energy of equilibrium. And this brings about harmony in the world. It acts through the law of action and reaction, which, as you know, are opposite and equal. And by its action, its harmonizing action in the world, we will create out of the present violence and tension and discord and unhappy conditions a period of peace, tranquility, mental and emotional poise, and in exact proportion to the existing disharmony, disequilibrium. If you look at what's happening on the political field in the world, the demand for freedom and democracy, which is sweeping the world, not only in East Germany and the Eastern Bloc, but across the world. Even the states of America, he says, will demand their own independence. Not to break away from the Union, but to be independent within the Union. And this has already started, is coming to the hearts of everybody, and that's the result of the energy which he pours into the world, which creates this demand for self-expression, for self-identity.
Maitreya is seeking the earliest possible time to appear openly in the world. He will appear first in America. Look for a man who is calling for justice in the world, for all the world, for freedom for all the world. When enough people are responding to what he has to say, Maitreya will be asked to speak to the whole world. And on that day, the day of declaration, as it will be known, an extraordinary thing will happen. Simultaneously, throughout the world, people will see Maitreya's face, by now familiar, on their television sets. Everyone, every adult in the world will hear his words, his thoughts, his ideas inwardly, silently, telepathically. While he is speaking, his energy, the energy of love, will flow out in tremendous potency through the hearts of all humanity. This will evoke an intuitive, heartfelt response to the message. And on the physical plane, there will be hundreds of thousands of spontaneous healings, cures throughout the world. Our response to this extraordinary day and this message will determine the whole future of our world. Maitreya has already said, "My heart tells me your answer, your choice, and is glad."
To support his claim that Maitreya and the Masters are here and ready to help solve our most critical problems, Benjamin Creme presented 3 categories of evidence at his news conference. One category of evidence, a continuous wave of miraculous events, has already been reported by news media, although, says Mr. Creme, reported as separate phenomena, without knowing that these events all have a common cause, Maitreya and the Masters.
He has created millions of phenomena, miracles, which now daily bedazzle all those who come in contact with them. The visions of the Madonna, which, for example, appear to the children at Medjugorje every evening and give them secrets. Similar visions which have occurred in many countries, wherever there are Christian groups around the world. Statues which weep real tears and blood. The statues, as in iron, which open their eyes and close them again. There is a 35-foot rainbow-colored Madonna which adorns a bank in Florida. People come every day to see this miracle, which was vandalized and has restored itself to its original pristine color. The icon of Jesus in Sydney, Australia, a large crucifix, which leaks liters of pure olive oil. These are signs To the religious person, the sign that God is there, God is real, God is looking after them, they think it is an act of God. Well, it is not an act of God. These miracles are the very definite acts of a science unknown to us, but known to all the masters, the science of the relationship between matter and energy, and the interchange of energy into matter and matter back to energy. Now, the evidence of all of this is being shown in these extraordinary miracles. The 40-foot high crosses of light which adorn fundamentalist Christian Baptist church in Tennessee. Then, it happens a lot in England, holy messages. When housewives cut the vegetables, they find that the seeds of the fruit are rearranged and spell out, Allah is great, Muhammad is his prophet. Healing waters which have appeared worldwide, as at Tlacote in Mexico, some of the most miraculous cures from cancer and AIDS down to warts and boils have been miraculously cured in this way. Such wells have been created by Maitreya all over the world. One in Germany, a place called Nordenau, where thousands of people have taken the water, and one north of New Delhi, where suddenly an empty well gushed this water, which was found to have miraculous healing properties. Eventually, there will be 777 of such healing wells distributed all over the world, and this will have a most profound effect on the health of humanity in the future. There is no end to this perfectly pure healing water which has been magnetized by Maitreya with cosmic energy, and it is this which gives it its extraordinary healing properties. I think probably one of the greatest miracles that the world has ever seen on the widest possible scale is the milk miracle which occurred in the Hindu community, north, south, east and west, wherever Hindus did puja in September 95. The milk was offered to the gods and the milk disappeared. It looked in every case as if the statues lapped up the milk. It disappeared in seconds. In New Delhi, everything stopped. Parliament closed. Millions of people took to the streets with their cans of milk. In fact, after 4 days, they ran out of milk. Of course, these gods made of wood and teak and bronze and copper and so on did not drink the milk. The miracle is not that they drank the milk. The miracle is that the milk disappeared. It was made to disappear by Maitreya and a group of masters who specialize in this particular type of miracle. Also, there is a Lebanese Muslim child who weeps razor-sharp crystals, and yet absolutely harmless. She said that a man on a white horse, dressed in white, told her that this was going to take place and not to be frightened, and it was a great spiritual sign for the Muslims of Lebanon. And in this way, he is making his voice heard to the religious groups who need this kind of sign. It gives them hope, the hope that there is a spiritual connection maintained between what they call God and themselves, and that the future holds hope, and that these are the signs of change in the ways of the world. And these changes will be activated by Maitreya.
A second category of evidence presented at Benjamin Krem's news conference consists of personal accounts, reports from private parties who have met very remarkable people, people who, in some cases, have saved them in the nick of time from injury or even death. These private parties have written to Benjamin Krem at Share International magazine, of which he is chief editor, and had Mr. Krem confirmed that the remarkable people they met were either Maitreya or a master. In addition to these reported encounters, there have been, according to Mr. Krem, countless others all over the world, where people had no idea that they had actually been helped by one of the masters.
There was a survey taken in America not too long ago about angels and whether people believed in angels, and it was found an extraordinary number. I think it was up around 80% of people said yes, they believed in angels, and they had had some kind of experience, some saving situation by an angel. They were healed, or they were saved from an auto accident, or such like. In every single case of saving by so-called angels, you have seen a saving situation by one or other of the masters. They can make themselves appear as people imagine an angel to be. If people are a bit more sophisticated, maybe know a little more about the masters, they come to them in their own perfectly normal appearance. And all of these millions of experiences throughout the world of angels are, and growingly are, the activity of the masters.
According to Benjamin Creme, Maitreya himself has appeared to individuals and also to groups of people around the world. One of these appearances was actually documented in a newspaper report, although, says Mr. Creme, none of the media, including CNN and others who picked up the story, knew at the time that this was Maitreya.
He appeared out of the blue on the 11th of June 1988 in Nairobi in Kenya before 6,000 people. One moment he wasn't there, the next moment he's standing beside the woman who dressed in blue. Her name is Mary Akatsa. She is a fundamentalist Christian preacher, and he spoke to them in perfect unaccented Swahili, the native language, for 15 or 20 minutes, and then he disappeared as amazingly as he had come.
Another piece of evidence presented at Benjamin Creme's news conference is a declaration by a former official in the United States Information Agency. This official held a top security clearance and says that he has personally met Maitreya. He also says that other officials he worked with in the United States government, at the highest levels of other governments, and even the Vatican, know that Benjamin Creme's story is true, because these other officials say they have met Maitreya themselves. A third category of evidence can be verified by anyone with access to a library or the internet, or by news media through their archives. This evidence consists of forecasts of the future, predictions made starting in 1988, which, amazingly, included not only unpredictable events, such as major earthquakes, but also the most dramatic, unexpected shifts in political power since the Second World War. Unlike the often generalized predictions of psychics, these forecasts specified the nature of each event, the country in which it was to occur, and, if major political figures were involved, identified them by name. The predictions were published in Share International magazine and sent to news media starting in 1988. The source of these forecasts, Mr. Creme says, is Maitreya himself, who through his profound understanding of the law of cause and effect can see the consequences of human actions long before we see them in the physical world. All the evidence taken together, the wave of miracles, the growing reports of benevolent intervention in people's lives, and the astonishing forecasts of unexpected changes around the world, lends support to Benjamin Creme's claim that seemingly unexplainable, miraculous events are the work of Maitreya and the Masters, and, wondrously, are only their calling cards.
And I remember one day, during a deliverance, there was a little break in it, and Jesus showed up. Not that he doesn't show up, and not that he's not in us, but sometimes he shows up in a greater manifested form at times. And when he did that, I'm like going, okay, he's here in this form where I can get questions answered a lot easier. And I go, Jesus, what did you mean? What were the two? I asked him two questions. There's the first question I asked, which is going to kind of segue to another topic later on in the sessions. But I asked him, what did that mean when my mom gave me to you? And he said, your mother, because what I'm going to be talking about next session is going to have a greater understanding of the functionality of the kingdom and how the kingdom works and how God works within the kingdom. But he said that your mom gave the rights to you over to me, to where I respect the rights of a parent. So when a parent has a child, they can raise the child any way they want. Me being God, I cannot interfere with that, because that is their child. That is their offspring. So when your mom did that for you, she gave full parenting rights over to me to parent you from that day forward.
I want to play for you a series of audio clips from an interview from almost a decade ago. This interview is candid and exposes the Great White Brotherhood for what they are. The whole series is almost 13 hours long, and I uploaded the series into the library in the folder of Courage. This interview is performed by Dan Duvall of Bride Ministries International, and the woman being interviewed is Carolyn Hamlet. I'm setting aside my personal opinion on Dan's Deliverance ministry and Carolyn's. Carolyn came from the Great White Brotherhood, and she dove deep into her life, exposing how she was used and how others are used. She would astral project. She called it walking in the spirit or out of the body, and she talked with other entities while in the spirit. She also talks about the term walk-ins, where these entities enter man and dominate them to use man for their purposes.
Okay, real quick, I just wanted to mention too that when it comes to some of the schools of Eastern mysticism, they teach that the body is a curse, and yet at the same time, demons and even members of Satan's spiritual hierarchy, and the Ascended Masters are some of those, they love those fleshly pleasures, and they do seek to possess humans for that reason. And with masters, they just call it walk-ins. Some of the masters, they'll influence people, they'll work through people, but let me tell you that while they're claiming that you must overcome the flesh, they want bodies. And I'll be getting more into that in maybe the next program when I talk about when I was reinstated into the spiritual hierarchy and working with them in a closer way.
Keep the term walk-in on your mind, as it will help you to understand topics later in this video. Carolyn talks about meeting the Great White Brotherhood or Ascended Masters in the spirit. Here, Carolyn talks about the white and the black Masonic structure and how the loyalists are used believing they are doing God's work. You'll hear this theme not only through Carolyn's testimony, but also in the Bible. John 16:2, they will put you out of the synagogue, yet a time is coming where the one who kills you will think he is offering service to God. This passage is talking about the time of the disciples, but this time that we live in is a parallel or circular time where that satanic kingdom has again risen in power. When the satanic kingdom lost at the crucifixion, their only option was to destroy man and stop the good news. The plan then was a proto-tribulation, and this is why we have preterism today. But now we are entering into another proto-tribulation, and preterism will give way to reality. There are three main sides of the satanic horde for the tribulation. There is the government or the legal side, the technology side, and the spiritual side. When you talk or listen to the whistleblowers from these divisions, each one believes their division, whether legal, technological, or spiritual, is the most important, or the only division that matters. Keep in mind that the body and soul are messed with within the tribulation, and Carolyn gives a spectacular view of the spiritual division plans, and the Great White Brotherhood or Ascended Masters are bringing in the spiritual side of this Great Awakening age. Here are the clips.
See, there's different astral levels, and you can be on a physical level, like where we are right now, in a physical place, a meeting place, and be in an astral body. He was in an astral body, this particular master. It was actually it was Saint Germain. Yeah, so see, I had heard of Saint Germain. I had never met Saint Germain. A lot of people call him the beloved Ascended Master, Saint Germain. Most of them will come off as being sweet, calm, loving, beloved. I got to find out otherwise, and he is one of the worst. Okay.
Now,
yes.
Just a point of clarification.
Yes.
When you say Saint Germain, this is not a human spirit.
No.
Okay.
No, none of these are human spirits. They will claim they are. These are not. This is not like a human Saint Germain, and there are other demons that I'm sure will assume the role. A lot of people are fooled out there. I mean, they can be so easily fooled, especially messing with any of this stuff.
Yes.
But this one, in Satan's, Lucifer's spiritual hierarchy, there is a Saint Germain.
Okay.
And if you were to ever Google some of the pictures of the Ascended Masters, a couple of them look maybe similar to what I knew, but take note on the pictures you see. They all want to resemble the English version of Jesus Christ. Some of them, like, are the Sacred Heart. You see the picture of the blue-eyed Jesus, the pale complexion, and the rosy cheeks. If you take a look, they all look like that, most of them. I can describe some of the masters as we talk about them, how they look to me, how they appear to me. I've known them to appear different ways to different people. In fact, they can make themselves quite hideous looking, and at times they did enjoy that. So, Saint Germain appeared to me when I walked in the room. He was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, like yogi style. Okay. He was sitting at a low table. He had wall-to-wall books, ceiling the floor books behind him. It's like he was library. I don't remember that I sat down. I can just remember how he had like a feel. It was like a New Ageist type of a feel. Sometimes, I guess Christians can kind of sense this about some people. He had that feeling about him. Naturally, you would think that he might, but but that was a lot of what he did in the plan, was working with the New Age movement. The New Age movement is a creation of the Ascended Masters. It's a tool. It's a package. And it's like an operation. You hear the titles of Operation this or that, or Project this or that. Well, New Age movement is all part of that, to bring a whole group of people in, to funnel them into the total deceptive plan. So Saint Germain has been one of the ones that's been in the mysticism area and also with the New Age movement. So he had more of a stern, business-like thing about him when I first met him. Didn't see him much after that, but at that point it was business. So he talked with me. He seemed to be happy enough without showing emotion, happy enough that seemed to be in with what they wanted. I had the desire to please, and I didn't ask questions. I was ready to just follow any requirements. I wanted to serve my God. I thought this organization were highly evolved beings in God's kingdom helping humanity. And that's what my mother had believed also. That's what other people in my family had believed. They work to get people who love God. I mean, another division can use people who have selfish desires. They can use that in another way. For me, I mean, I didn't even want to invade people's privacies after a certain level. I mean, they knew what they could use me at, what I was best at, and I was one that was wanting to serve my God in a righteous way. I mean, they can excuse all kinds of immorality as being good, even to the point. We'll talk about this some later in the plan, that I actually believe this, and they will have other Christians in the end of the plan believing that they're doing humanity a favor by killing Christians, because they believe that they'll believe that murder is actually good, because they'll be sending humans, the Christians, back to a lower level incarnating group. Send them back to their own kind, so the rest of humanity can advance. I mean, that is such a lie, and we'll talk more about that later. But that's one of the things. That's a huge deception that people are already believing. I lived for my night. I got that back again, even in a greater level. I mean, because I was going places I'd never been before. I was trusted with a lot of responsibility, and I I longed to put my physical body down so I could be with the masters, and so I could go to some of these places and join them in some of the things they did. And one of the things was, I'll be talking about that too, and it's some of the ceremonies that we had. So, but in this realm, the colors were just very much like the movie Avatar, and everything was just heightened senses. It was a place where we used to go after evening, after we finished whatever we were doing that night. I would see other people there too. I mean, it's like a place around the clock, a playground where people that work for the plan go. So, one thing I felt like was that in a sense, I felt like I was being considered. Okay, at one point, as a child, I'll mention this next. As a child, I was taught, even though I was taught that I was material for the future, for when angels. It was like I was told the gods, the ascended masters were that Lucifer's hierarchy were the actual Greek and Roman gods. Just one of the things that people chose to. They chose to make the stories up about the real beings that were here. That those were the ascended masters, and in the end days they would also take wives. That I was like 7 years old, and I was told that I was a candidate for that. So, that's what I was geared for that. But I was also meant to stay away from thinking in sexual terms around these beings, and they can definitely put off that vibe. So I learned to block it.
Wow.
So that I was working with these beings, and finally it's like they wanted me to consider them their level, and even a romantic level. And at that point I felt like it was kind of like being accepted into royalty, like they were treating me like I was royalty, like of the universe.
Wow.
It sounds weird, but that's the only way I can describe it. And they actually did. There was a master. There were a couple of masters that took interest in me. The first one, though, it kind of was what introduced me to the fact that they had other plans for me. And one of them, I knew him only as Jason. And I guess maybe I ought to talk about that later, about how I met Jason.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had a list here of things like going in the astral in the realm, that it's like some of the things we did were, just to mention again, that a lot of what we did would be I would be in my astral body. They were not in physical bodies, but we would be on the actual third dimensional Earth.
Okay.
Just like you would demons. Demons can be around, moving things, objects around. We would be on this level. We had a meeting place. We had a meeting place in the physical. Some people would attend physically, and others would be there in our astral bodies. I knew that. See, I didn't know Jesus Christ then and His power, but I didn't believe. See, I knew I had a physical body. I didn't think they could harm me, although it's possible that they could have when I think back.
Okay.
But see, what I had was the ascended masters, who were greater than these. In fact, there were a couple of times when I went down to the realm just because I just was curious, or I felt like challenging a few of those things for some weird reason. I could hear, it was like the Master Hilarion, his voice just echoing through the realms. I could hear it. It was like vibrating, and everything on that level just stopped. It's like these things were scared to death of the Master Hilarion. And it was later that I found out what rank he was. He's like next to Lucifer himself. They're lord over those realms. So, but lord over all of Satan's hierarchy. I would not be here to talk today if Jesus Christ didn't have the power, and if Jesus Christ didn't want people to know that the conspiracy is real, and that Jesus is the answer to God, that Jesus is God's plan, not this. Okay, Master Hilarion. Don't have any notes on him. I guess I don't really need it. I mean,
Okay.
One of the things I wanted to mention, this is something I've only told a couple of people. And I'm just going to go ahead and come right out with some of it. And if you ever hear anybody mention anything about a robe and the Master Hilarion, I've never heard anybody talk about it. I've told one other person that is on radio and has been on radio for years. I don't know if he's ever brought that out or not, but he didn't even know what it was about. So, but I know it's significant. Well, first of all, I didn't know. It wasn't until I didn't know who he was exactly. He has a couple of roles. Okay. He was. I was taken to a temple that was an ancient ruin. We were in our astral bodies. He was wearing a robe and was the high priest. They claimed that he was Melchizedek. Okay, I know he was not Melchizedek from the Bible, but they want us to believe he was.
Okay.
Some people, there's lots of teachings about the Master Hilarion. People will say that he was the reincarnation of the Apostle Paul. Don't believe that. I'm not going to take time to talk about that, but I will tell people, if they believe that one, go back and read Apostle Paul's writings, all of them. And it is not. The Apostle Paul talks about Jesus Christ not as an avatar, not as an low ascended master. He talks about Jesus Christ as the Son of God, the Word of God, and the message that Daniel and I are trying to teach you now. He was Master Hilarion. None of those masters were anybody in the Bible, unless they were fallen angels. Okay, so anyway, he was performing the priestly duties as Melchizedek in this ceremony. He had a robe he's the only one who ever wore this robe, and it was plain. It was like it was a seamless robe. It was like a off-white linen, which is probably like a natural linen. It had embroidery on the skirt of it, if you want to call it skirt. It was like floor length. It had embroidery on the sleeves, the end of the sleeves, and embroidery in the neck. The embroidery on the robe was, I've gone back and I've tried to find out what type of embroidery, just anything that might match that. The closest I could find had to do with ancient Hebrew embroidery. It was very simple,
Really?
But I knew the story. The story around his robe, I know part of it, and I think if I concentrated enough, I'd come up with more of the story. Nobody told me the story. It's like I knew it. It had to do, the whole thing was a circle. It had to do with creation, the beginning and the end. There were symbols with birds and fruit and different things on the robe, and the same thing with the collar. But I can remember I could not take my eyes off of that robe. He's the only one who ever wore it. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of anything like that or not, but I just wanted to mention that just because I think it's significant. And because he wore that, and there's only supposedly only one Melchizedek, and they have their high priest, and that's the Master Hilarion. It turns out that he's next to Lucifer. I didn't know that until just before I left the organization, and they were trying to tell me who he was. He's the one that, it sounds pretty far out, but he's the one that I believe they were matching me up with. I don't think I'm so great about it. It's weird, but at the same time, when I look back at everything and the time he spent with me, maybe I'll go into that later about some of that. But that's what it was. My mentor was matched up. You won't believe the story, though. Well, maybe you will believe it. So we'll be talking about that, but. Yeah, Master Hilarion I have to admit, he was my favorite.
Wow.
And when I left the hierarchy, I lost a lot. I mean, I felt like they knew I was going to betray them, and they told me they didn't. Of course, they said they would do everything they could to prevent me from doing that, and they have. But I feel like they betrayed me.
Wow.
I'm glad God showed me the truth, but I lost everything.
Wow.
Everything. I mean, everything I believed in. I thought these were godly men, godly beings. And it's like, what a slap in the face. I mean, it's hard to even describe.
On this issue, I would like you to bring it up. And it has to do with the agenda to bring in and give bodies to some of these spirit beings. Now, you were aware of something she was involved with. Maybe you can explain that and so kind of give some credence to what you're saying, how the hierarchy uses these unions for their purposes.
Well, this particular one, this would actually be, I guess, getting into what it'll take longer to describe later. But in this particular union, at first they were brought together. It was like friends, but it was then encouraged that there was a greater purpose for their union. There was a ceremony that actually bound them as one. And it wasn't until, I'd actually forgotten some of this ceremony. Fortunately, I had taken notes on it for 25 years ago or 20-some years ago. I took notes, and I'm glad I did with some of the dates. It talked about the fifth fire initiation. Now, that's something that some people who read metaphysical books might hear about. I can't remember the teaching in the books. I don't want to go back and look at those. But this was a fifth fire initiation. I was told it was a big deal. They actually supposedly became one, consumed in flame, and what they did with this together, their power together, they were able to enter a different realm. Here we go. Sounds like sci-fi stuff, but this is how it went down, okay? I don't even understand it all. I guess it might be like kind of like opening a portal.
Okay.
But they were able together to go to, it was like a different dimension, so to speak, I guess, and they were to be the expression of the one that they were bringing in to be the chosen avatar, the Christ. From Arcturus. I know. So anyway, this entity was able to come into, it didn't happen right away. It was like a several-day process. But this entity came back with them. The plan was he would be expressing himself through these people in the human form. These people as humans. This spirit would be expressing the feminine side and through the masculine side, through both of them together. It was like that was his ride into this earth dimension.
Wow.
Okay, so I got to meet. That's just the beginning. That's just the beginning.
Continue.
Okay, this thing, I call him a thing. See, he was not like the others. To me, he seemed evil. It made no sense whatsoever. Okay, they did end up making a body for him. He was very, very, stuck on himself. What is it? He's, I can't remember the word.
Egocentric, maybe?
All that. He was selfish, yes. And he was not one of the most powerful. He was not even Master Hilarian's class.
Okay.
In fact, Master Hilarian had told me that he himself could have been the office of the Christ. That's a whole other thing. See, it's not the truth, but basically, I mean, the truth. They say that Jesus earned his mastership when an avatar took over his body and became the Christ back then.
Wow.
Okay, Master Hilarion claimed he was that one. He could have been that one, but he turned it down. Okay, he said he could have been this one, but he turned it down. Obviously, this entity here was nothing like Master Hilarion or the one that I met that came next, which they said was one of the next ones that came next. It was the last one that I met. It was the one they called the most illumined of all. Okay, well, this particular one was the first one that came in. They called him several different names, and they ended up devising a body for him. So maybe should I go into the names first? We're kind of running out of time.
Okay, so let's just recap here. There was a fifth fire initiation between these two, the woman and her mate that the hierarchy had chosen. And then they were able to, I mean, frankly, sexually ascend to another dimension where they encountered this spirit that they brought back with them. And then this spirit began to express himself through both of the people, ultimately gaining a body on this realm.
Yes, they could.
Wow.
Yeah, they and other bodies were. There were ceremonies that went with that. One of the ceremonies that's one of the ceremonies that the Pope actually attended. Yeah, I mean it sounds crazy. But you know what? When people are talking about Nephilim,
yes,
and they talk about the end days, I mean, there's a lot of Christians that they'll mention Satan, but do they really believe he exists? Do they really believe that there's an Antichrist? Do they believe that there's a counterfeit? I'm telling you, what I'm telling you may be hard to grasp.
Sure.
But you who find it hard to grasp, do you actually believe there's a Satan? Do you? I mean, and if there is, could I possibly have met him? Could I possibly have met the one that they have chosen to be the Christ? Could I have possibly met the counterfeit Jesus Christ? Could anybody have? Does it exist or not? If you think it exists, then there's a possibility that what I'm saying is absolutely true. And there's a reason why I'm telling people this. It's so they can know it and they can be prepared. Because the only way you're going to be able to be prepared is to have the Spirit of Jesus Christ in you, to know He's real. You aren't going to know what's not of God. You aren't going to know the counterfeit Christ if you don't know the real thing first. If you don't know the real Jesus Christ, you're going to miss it. Very, very good chance. Because I've met this thing. And I know how easy it is to get fooled. Okay, not only was that fifth fire initiation for the Union, the Masters had another plan they didn't tell us about, or they didn't tell me about it until I'd noticed the difference. Okay, the energy created from this fifth fire thing, it was like two humans on the physical plane whose makeup is physical. Their energy was needed in order to go to another realm to bring back their chosen avatar, the one who is chosen to fill the office of the Christ, for this age. So they needed that energy to go. It was like a door was opened that was never opened before. They had to come from this realm to the next realm in their spirit to bring that entity back. Okay. See, the second part of this, too, is that he was going to express himself through both of them. His male side through the male, his female side through my mentor, the female. I mean, the female through my mentor, and the male side through her mate. I was told this entity's name was AI. And years later, I looked up AI, and there's actually, I think there's a city in the Bible named that, but it means like heap of ruins, or the ruin, R-U-I-N. I don't know if this was why he was called AI or not, but it's just another interesting thing. And the thing, too, I heard about walk-ins, and, you hear that the avatar person is supposed to be a walk-in, and I never heard of him using two people as one. Well, this particular reason was they were his host. They were going to create a body for him, out of the substance that he was made of from that realm and the physical substance. So he would have an anchor here on earth as well as the other realm. It's like it opened like a doorway between the two realms.
And it makes sense for this reason. The Bible says that God inhabits the heavens, but has given the earth to men. As I've understood it, and this has always seemed to prove true, is that the devil really needs to usurp power from people in order to reinforce his kingdom in the earth. He needs somebody here to be in agreement with, just like God is the same way. God raises up a man to do his agenda in the earth. And God is not limited. When he couldn't find somebody from his own people, Israel, he raised up Cyrus. And the Bible is very clear that God was going to loose the loins of kings before Cyrus. And all I'm saying is, God uses people and Satan uses people because God has given the earth to men. I think this is a very basic concept that all of this really is kind of hinging on. Why would they go out of their way to do all of this?
Yeah. It may be kind of stretching people's mind, but I think they need to consider the possibilities. And people these days are talking about Nephilims. How does that happen? And how do you combine two different realms, entities, beings that are able to operate here? I'm telling about the possibility because that is what everybody's talking about these days. But it's only because I want people to know that the only way you're going to know the difference between these entities and what is of God is you're going to have God's Holy Spirit in you. You're going to have to continuously feed that Holy Spirit with the things that are of God to keep it alive, or you're not going to know the difference. People ask me all the time, how are you going to know if one of these entities, one of these Nephilim type things are around? Well, I mean, a lot of times they can't stand to be around a person who's Holy Spirit filled. You can call yourself Holy Spirit filled, but if you're not actively feeding that Spirit of God, talking to God and regularly in prayer, reading the Word, trying to walk the way that Jesus Christ taught us to walk, in His love, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Call yourself Holy Spirit filled or not, you're not going to be filled with it, and you're going to be fooling yourself. So my point is here again, I can tell you about this stuff. I think people need to know, but Jesus Christ is the only answer to know the difference.
Wow. So to summarize, these people did a certain ceremony of purification, so to speak, engaged sexually,
yes,
were consumed by a fire, which took them to this other realm where you followed them but were not permitted to go once you were there spiritually, but you saw.
Yes.
They were there for days and then came back different.
Yeah, they didn't even appear to be human when they came back. And then of course, the masters explained why they weren't. At first, I didn't know they were going to make a body. I was just told they're not the same because AI, their chosen one to fill the office of the Christ, as their plan for the global rulership, is expressing himself through them. We always talk about an avatar, highly evolved being that's going to be a walk-in. They claim that Jesus Christ was actually a walk-in, and Jesus was a man that became a master because he allowed some highly evolved being to enter him. I mean, that's a total lie. But see, in my organization, we're used to the thought of a walk-in. It's a possession. But the idea of a double possession seemed odd to me.
Yes.
Any of that may seem odd to other people. To me, it's a double possession. And then it was after that. That was a temporary thing. I didn't know it. I thought I'd lost my mentor because she wasn't the same. But that was temporary.
So they came back together, both possessed or integrated into the same spirit.
Yes.
Which was AI.
Two separate bodies, but behaving as one.
Incredible.
See, I know now what I sensed about him was the spirit AI, was that being. Because when he did have his own body, they no longer had that about them. They were themselves again. I'll be talking about his personality and some about him, because I got to know him pretty well.
How long was she pregnant?
That's an interesting thing. This happened back in the 80s. I knew nothing about Doug Riggs and some of the Nephilim mothers. But the interesting thing was the same incubation period, 4 months. Same incubation period they claim. It was 4 months. And then after that, 6 months to a mature adult. Every night before we left to go home to our bodies of physical people, and when our night was done with the Ascended Masters, we actually met in a room where there was a table. It was like a U-shaped table, and Adonis Aroni would stand in the middle, and he would serve us like the Lord's Supper. They called it the Lord's Supper. He wore a black suit. It was white tablecloths, silver, and all that. Sometimes there was no food at all. It was like we were going through the motions. Sometimes there would be like a bowl, like a common bowl that we would dip bread in. But the point was that it was like a solemn affair. We were honoring him because of what he did in the past, supposedly what he had done in the past, and what he was going to do in the future for the plan. And it had to do with dying. He was going to be killed. I'm saying this because this entity, I'm going to be describing these entities for you, because if you can recognize them spiritually, then perhaps that'll be helpful. If something doesn't appear to be godly, then it's probably not godly. If you have the Holy Spirit in you, you will be able to tell, even if this person puts on his charming self, you will be able to tell something's not going to check right in your spirit. You're going to be able to tell that he's probably not from God. Pay attention, feed your spirit now, so you can be ready. But will he be the one where they're going to kill him? According to what they wanted me to believe, he is.
Does it take more energy for an angel, like a fallen angel, to put on a body versus having one created for them by the process you've been describing, according to your...
It takes a great deal of energy.
Uh-huh.
Ascended Masters are known to, the entities that are calling themselves Ascended Masters have been known to appear physically to humans. My mother claimed that had happened to her. Mm-hmm. Of course, my son claimed that, but it's known that it does take great energy for them to do that, so they choose not to most of the time. But for this last section of the plan, what I was told was Lucifer was bringing in his greatest, his most powerful. In fact, they use militaristic terms to describe these beings, and some of them looked just like military. And some of them chose to look like large, you'd think angels would look just big, tall, and others just normal. The ones that have bodies, they actually can make their bodies appear to be less, they can make them appear more perfect or even less perfect, to have flaws. If they can make themselves blend in, they can make themselves look dull. They have that ability. But yet it does take a lot more energy for them to manifest. And also, they want to have a foothold on this world. They want to rule it, and in order to, I don't know how to make it any more clear, other than just to say it's an anchor. If they're part of this world physically, they're able to take some of the material matter from this world and their matter, what they're made up of, and put it together to make them both this world. I think that one of the reasons why Jesus Christ said that he can go back to heaven because he came from heaven. And that when he went back to heaven, he would draw all men to him. God put his spirit in a human being. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of see it as like a similarity. If you can understand what I'm saying about these evil entities, maybe it make it easier to comprehend the point that Jesus Christ could actually, because he was in a human body, the Holy Spirit of God right there on earth, not an avatar, but God, made a rescue plan. It's like God reached down to humanity on earth. That was God's rescue plan, to redeem man from a fallen state, to bring man back to that presence with God that he had in the beginning. That Lucifer never wants people to know that they had that beginning with God. So Jesus Christ is God's rescue plan. That's the lifesaver. Savior. It's like a lifesaver. He's thrown it down to us. I mean, it is complicated, but it isn't. Because Jesus came from heaven, he was able not only to show us how to live as a human being, but also to show us who God is in the flesh. That lifeline back to us was created, and we can take that. We can write it to him. You have to know the name of Jesus Christ. You can call on it. People say when you die, go to the light. No, Jesus said in his word, he says, I am the resurrection and the life. You call on him. You don't call on the light.
Carolyn, this is powerful. What you're describing to us is really Satan building up according to a counterfeit representation of what God has already manifested in Jesus for his beings. But in doing so, he is building an army on Earth that, for all intents and purposes, has been existing in another dimension until now.
I don't want to leave people to even consider the possibility, because it is totally, totally false. It can just sweep you right off of your feet. Some of their teachings of who Lucifer is, people will fall for it. It makes Lucifer out to be like a savior. So if you're an ignorant person and you don't read the Bible for yourself, if you take it out of context, if you read the Bible for yourself, you'll find that Lucifer is not what they say he is. Even their most beautiful Luciferic teaching. My mentor talked about him before I met him. I mean, I thought she was in love with the guy. She was just all dreamy-eyed and just like all syrupy.
Wow.
So I think that they presented me to him for me to meet him to see if I would be attracted to him. And maybe I would see his beautiful, beautiful side, and that would be so alluring to me. And I don't even like to talk about too much about it, because I can almost sense him if I start thinking about him, talking about him. But yet I know I'm the victor now. He was very beautiful. Came across as being very handsome, perfect, everything, perfect body. What he emanated from himself was everything that every woman would ever desire from a man. Like a Superman sort of a thing. It's every need that she would wanted from a mate. That's him. In fact, all the masters have this ability. For a woman, you feel like you're the only person out of the entire universe. They could have any woman they wanted. But you're like me. I was the only one they wanted. That was like, they don't see anybody else but me. And never would. It's like that dedication. It's like, even though I knew he had that for everybody, I mean, even the men sense that about him. It's hard to turn down. It's hard to turn down. He's beautiful, and I found myself wanting to be in his presence, wanting to find out what he's all about. His personality was just very intriguing. It's kind of like he wanted me to be curious, and I could be curious from now on until eternity. They promised me that I would have a position in this new order. When their kingdom was here, that was one of the things they promised me. I would have my position here. So that's another reason people will serve the plan, is they believe that they're going to be in a position of authority over other people and be honored. I mean, they were talking as if it's like, we are going to be in power and you will have a position. Count on it.
Wow.
So that was some of my experience with Lucifer.
And how did this lead to your meeting with this thing that you call the most illumined of all?
All right. Well, the most illumined of all, it happened after we've been bringing in a bunch of these beings that I called the light beings. I was getting pretty used to seeing these guys, and I was told that they wanted me to meet this one. So out of body, I was with my master. I have this written about on my blog. I've mentioned on another program. But this entity, I was brought before this entity. It was a towering, bright light, like pulsating, bright, flashing, and then it was just like a solid bright. It was shaped, I call it like shaped like a Christmas tree. I say because it was like pointed more at the top and tapered, going wider at the bottom. It could have been like 30 stories tall. It was like there was no ceiling. It's like we were in this cathedral-like thing, and all of a sudden there's no ceiling, because this thing is just towering tall. My mentor's with me, and I sensed that she wanted my impression of what I was standing in front of, and I could sense that he wanted my impression. It was a he. I could sense that. So I started to tune in to think, what is this? You know, I knew it was something from that realm, and I knew it was different than any of the ones I'd seen yet. I mean, I'd never seen any that bright, that tall, any of that. So all of a sudden, it's like in my spirit, I felt like it was Jesus Christ. No matter how hard I try to describe this, I want so badly, I wish people knew exactly. I mean, you think you know who Jesus Christ is. You think you know the love of God. Like when we're created by God himself, we have a recognition of who he is, all his goodness, everything that he is to us. Since we've been separated from us, we have a hole in us. We spend our lives trying to fill that hole. Sometimes people think they can fill it with a special mate. It's like they know there's something missing. Well, standing in front of this entity, all that came to my remembrance. All that I had missing out of me. There it is, standing right in front of me. and I'm feeling like it is Jesus Christ himself. That's what it's saying to me. Everything that I thought I knew in my spirit before I even know who Jesus Christ was, I mean, it's like the recognition in my creation. Like my spirit was created with that knowledge in it. I think that that is the way we're all created. We have that knowledge in our spirit, that recognition. So it's that deep level in me that recognized that's what it was. And it was Jesus Christ. It was saying it was Jesus Christ. I sensed it. I just wanted to run right to it. I felt like I just wanted to be one with it. And then all of a sudden there was just a slight, it's so slight here, just something in me saying it's not him. Something so faint. So I pulled back and I thought, it's not him. Then all of a sudden it flooded to me again like, yes, it is him. It is him. You know, all those feelings again. I thought, no, it's wrong. It is him. And I wanted to run to him again. And then it checked again. Something, no, it's not him. Something is so slight. Something's off. I don't know what it is. And I questioned myself, how could I be off? Again, the third time, I thought, oh, it is him. I know. This is it. It is him. I was wrong. And then the third time it checked in my spirit, and I thought, no, something's not quite right. It looks like he should look as he is like. It feels like what he should look like. I mean, it looks like it. It feels like it. My whole being tells me it's him, but something is there. It's not him. I passed whatever test that was. That entity was so pleased, ecstatic, that I noticed the difference, that it was so slight, the fact that I was almost fooled. And I've said this before, if I had to do that again, I don't know that I wouldn't be fooled. And that's my whole reason why I even tell my story. It's because of that. I want people to know that Lucifer is the con of all cons. And this is a counterfeit Jesus Christ, obviously. I don't know if there are any more. But I'm telling you that if you don't know the real Jesus Christ, if you don't know him so well in your spirit, you're going to be fooled. Because the con of all cons knows if he can con anybody, he can con you. And if you don't know who Jesus Christ is, he's got that next to perfect counterfeit. So,
through Carolyn's testimony, you can now understand the kind of enemy we will face in the Great Awakening age, and why bodies will be needed for the Satanic Kingdom. It takes up too much energy to manifest in our space. I don't know if that will be the same when the restrainer or veil is removed, and prayer can no longer sustain it because there aren't enough praying. Starseeds are individuals who are believed to originate from far distant stars, galaxies, or other dimensions. They are thought to incarnate on Earth for specific missions aimed at enhancing and elevating the consciousness of humanity and the planet. This is why we learn so much about vibrations. This concept is popular in New Age beliefs and other metaphysical spiritual traditions, which often emphasizes the interconnectedness of the universe. The primary mission of Starseeds is often described as rising the vibration of Earth and its inhabitants to achieve higher levels of awareness and spirituality. They are said to facilitate shifts in consciousness through various means, including environmental activism, teaching, healing, and more subtle forms of energy work. Starseeds are the people completely mind-controlled into this false utopia or Great Awakening age. Other mind-controlled individuals in this deception are indigo children, crystal children, and rainbow children. Indigo children, indigos are believed to possess a unique deep blue aura, indicative of their intuition and spiritual awareness, which Tappé identified through her synthetic abilities to perceive auras. Crystal children, recognized as the successors to indigo children, emerging predominantly in the early 2000s, they are characterized by their distinctive spiritual and emotional abilities. Crystal children are thought to be part of the new wave of evolution in human consciousness, bringing enhanced spiritual qualities to interactions and societal structures. Rainbow children are considered the third generation of special children in the New Age narrative. following the Indigo Children and Crystal Children, emerging more predominantly in the 2000s, Rainbow Children are believed to be the embodiment of the next level of human evolution, characterized by their innate spiritual gifts and pure, joyful energies. The term I am will be everywhere in the Great Awakening Age, because everyone will be under the illusion that they are little proto-gods working to rise and ascend like the masters. It will be their job to help the people ascend. This is the end goal of the one world religion. Like the Black Masons used blood rituals to ascend after death, the White Masons will teach another way to ascend that will seem good and just, but it will end just like the Black Mason, with those individuals cast into the fire. So let's break this down a little bit. Earlier, I showed you the Black Mason path to ascend into godhood, through occult rituals taught by Masons like Aleister Crowley and the drinking of blood. Over a prolonged period of time, demonic entities enter the body and change it.
You know, people think, oh, it's romantic to be a vampire. Well, no, it isn't. And I never was a full-blown vampire, because what I was told is that when I went through this initiation, and that at some point I would just die and become a full-fledged vampire and undead. Nosferatu is the Romanian word.
The great sin of blood drinking allows this to happen. Over that period of time, eventually, the individual dies, but they do not go to sleep. The individual has given themselves to Satan, and their souls stay in that body. However, now and forever, from that ritual, they are now marked with the satanic kingdom, and they roam the earth when they die like the Nephilim. In the Black Mason Lodge, you are enlightened through knowledge, and you must prove yourself worthy. The Black Mason tactic is scarcity and fear in all things. We only have a limited amount of oil. We only have a limited amount of land. We only have a limited amount of people to be a sustainable planet. We are changing the climate, and etc., etc. With that, the ascension to godhood is a privilege for those who are deemed valuable enough to the synagogue of Satan. The Freemasons have already agreed to be their slaves and do their bidding. And we learn this, for example, from the B'nai B'rith celebrations. One of the many triumphs of our Freemasonry is that those Gentiles who become members of our lodges should never suspect that we are using them to build their own jails, upon whose terraces we shall erect the throne of our universal King of the Jews, and should never know that we are commanding them to forge the chains of their own servility to our future King of the world. We are fathers of all revolutions, even of those which sometimes happen to turn against us. We are the supreme masters of peace and war. This is a synagogue of Satan, the human leadership of the black, obvious evil line in the satanic kingdom. They have always had the mark of the beast, but the mark of the beast was a privilege for the few. The achievement is manufactured just like their belief structure, with population and resources. Only the few will receive it. Scarcity, it's only for those who are worthy. The rest will go to hell through their mass-produced doctrines that have been grown in the East and West. Sexual deviancy, violence and greed, and health injection programs. Promiscuity. The injections of 2021 are not the mark, and they never were. Then they planned a great reset to destroy us in a World War III apocalyptic destruction, where they and their chosen slaves would survive in underground cities while we destroyed ourselves on their order. These underground cities, or dumbs, is the fake Tartarus of the Bible. Now, where is their leadership? Because of the Hegelian dialectic, so much of this Black Masonry has been exposed, so that the public will know who the villain is. Some think the Synagogue of Satan's leadership is Israel. Some think it's the Vatican. Some think it's Washington, D.C., or even the City of London. All of these are leadership areas controlled by the Synagogue of Satan, but it is not the head of the snake. You may get a big shock when you hear this because it will become obvious. The leadership of this head of the snake is in Geneva, Switzerland, the country that was neutral during World War I and World War II, and in fact, it had a neutrality policy since the Reformation and began the peace treaty foundations with France in 1516. That doesn't mean it was set in stone, as bloodlines still fought for control of Europe. But the goal for true neutrality was set in stone in 1815 at the Congress of Vienna by all the royal bloodlines and countries. This is the world banking system that Europe is protecting under the leadership of the Synagogue of Satan. But Geneva has isolated itself by making other centers of power, from Geneva to Israel, and from Israel there is a triad of corporations: the City of London for banking, the Vatican City, protected by the Swiss Guard, which controls religion, and Washington, D.C., which controls the military. Each location is a separate jurisdiction from the countries that they live in, and are all joined together, forming the fiat world monetary system and de facto legal system, a system that you agree to every day. Spiritually, you are entwined with this system. Every part of it is designed to destroy you, but the special people who work to build this prison get the privilege of ascending into godhood through the dark rituals. That is the mark of the beast. The mark has always been here. It was just for the special enlightened governors of this world. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against the worldly governors, the princes of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness, which are in the high places. Now you know about the White Masons and what they believe, which has been taught by Helena Blavatsky. The White Masons, this is not what they will call themselves, as Freemasonry will be a dirty word, will bring in the Golden Age, the Great Awakening Age, with our so-called alien brothers and sisters, and they will teach us how we have been created as a slave race to feed the evil aliens and their human servants in the synagogue of Satan. How man hasn't evolved enough, or how we don't vibrate in frequencies high enough to lead ourselves, thus requiring us to be under their rulership, the rulership of the White Mason royalty in this Great Awakening Age. The sect rises after World War III and is part of the strong delusion, and the Christians who survive World War III but are heavy in nar will believe they are doing God's work under these fallen angels and Nephilim. During this time, there will be an offering that will be the greatest gift to all mankind, the fast track to their own ascension that will give man the gifts that will appear godlike, just like the Black Masons who transform their body and soul to receive their just deserts. The White Masons will give their mark to man as a free gift to all who want it, until the choice becomes mandatory in the war against God or the evil aliens trying to enslave us again. It will be a patriotic gift from those who freed us from tyranny. Why wouldn't we want it? This is the final mark of the beast, the mark that transforms man into irredeemable creatures that will be cast into the fire with the fallen angels and the Nephilim. The mark will be transformed through technology. Man will be fully aware that they're going against God who created them and chose to join the Galactic Federation, the ones who rose up against God and lost when Jesus died on the cross for us. All the satanic kingdom has is deception. It's time to stop listening to the Synagogue of Satan and the Freemasonic institutions who plant rotten seeds and lie to us about what the mark is. These evil people already know what it is and revere the first one who took the mark of the beast. Who was that? Nimrod. He transformed himself at Babel. He transformed himself into a mighty man, a man with great power, that is, until the day of judgment, when he will be cast into the fire. Nimrod, a foolish or inept person, a very stupid person. If you are finding this helpful, please pause the video and share it. Send this to the people you care for and the people you pray for and your favorite podcasters and teachers. It will go nowhere if you don't. There is a man who has infiltrated the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, and his name is Joshua Abraham. His father, Larry Abraham, helped write a book. None dare call it a conspiracy. Joshua studied a series of books and shared these major points with Urban Odyssey. Check out his Substack. But before we begin, it's important to know that this is the Freemasonic plan to force revelation. They are using the Bible as a playbook. This is not the true path to the revelation of Jesus Christ, but the beginning of the end. I do not want to speak for Joshua, so I'll tell you my thoughts. First, there are people who truly believe they are bringing in the end. These are the Masons who are helping to bring in the digital ID and the digital ID chip. There are those that know this plan is to create a mass patsy scenario where those who participate in the great evil will be used as useful idiots. They will be the example to everyone as they are exterminated for the Great Awakening. In this, the religious zealots will be exterminated too. The ones who listen to these Masons, who are on the heads of the churches and heads of atheist organizations and corporations and governments, they will all be removed through the coming violence. And if you know just how many churches are controlled, you'll understand why there is only a remnant after. People will be disgusted with religion when this plan is finished. They will be ready to embrace the new think theosophy. So, with that being said, what you're going to hear is the plan to bring the Great Awakening Age, the plan to bring Lucifer to the head of worship as a bringer of light, as a bringer of love, and as the savior of earth, all orchestrated by the fallen angels in the satanic kingdom. It's not the real tribulation, it's a proto-tribulation to prepare the minds for something new. It's the greatest Hegelian dialectic ever created. This breakdown is the epitome of Know Your Enemy's thesis. Let's begin. Read these books in this order for a more complete understanding of the Masonic craft. There are no shortcuts. You must read all of these books front to back for a successful infiltration. This way, you will never have to take the Masonic oath of light and bind your soul to the Brotherhood on the checkered floor of the lodge. Matthew 5:36, KJV. Masonry is a fraternity of knowledge. Now you can defeat them at their own game. Here's the list of books: 1611 King James Bible, the Quran, the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, Volumes 1 and 2 by Albert Mackey, the Monitor of the Lodge, Monitorial Instructions of the 3 Degrees of Freemasonry, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall, Lectures on Ancient Philosophy, Manly P. Hall, The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, Manly P. Hall, The Secret Destiny of America, Manly P. Hall, Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike, The Secret Doctrine, Volumes 1 and 2, Helena Blavatsky, The Book of the Law, Aleister Crowley, Masonry Beyond the Light, William Schnoebelen, Solomon's Builders, Christopher Hodap, The Hiram Key, Christopher Knight and Robert Lamas, The Kybalion, Hermetic Philosophy, 3 Initiates, Centenary Edition, The Secret Code Words of Freemasonry, First Degree, Entered Apprentice, Boaz, 1 Kings 7:21, KJV, Second Degree Fellowcraft, Jashin, 2 Chronicles 3:17, KJV, Third Degree Master Mason, Tubal-Cain, Genesis 4:22, KJV, The secret word of the Master Mason, Mahabone. 33rd degree, Metatron, name given to Enoch after his ascension into heaven. Remember, this is Freemasonic belief. The High Degree Freemason Guide of the King James Bible. This is how the High Degree Freemasons interpret the King James Bible in the High Degree Masonic Book Bible Studies. Jehovah God, leader of the Palladian humanoid aliens stationed in our solar system, captain of New Jerusalem Mothership. Jesus Yeshua, only Son of Jehovah and second in command of the New Jerusalem Mothership. Angels, Palladian humanoid alien race, chariots of fire, UFO or UAPs, Star of Bethlehem, spaceship of the Order of the Melchizedek Fleet, the New Jerusalem, mothership of the Palladian humanoid aliens stationed race, virgin birth, in vitro fertilization, prophets, people chosen by the Palladian humanoid aliens race, biblical miracles, advanced occult knowledge, ancient alien technology, demons, fallen angels, exiled Palladians, Anunnaki, who made an alliance with the reptilians, insectoids, and gray aliens from the Orion constellation. Heaven, the New Jerusalem Mothership. Lucifer, exiled Palladian. Hell or Sheol, sun inside the hollow earth. Garden of Eden, hollow earth, land of Agartha. Synagogue of Satan, global Luciferian brotherhood of secret societies. The ancient royal secret of 33rd degree Freemasonry. The Order of the Melchizedek is the real brotherhood within Freemasonry. This is made up only of the members of the purple honorary 33rd degree that have been shown the 4 Masonic holy books. The belief that binds them all in a universal ambition is the belief in the awakening of the true consciousness. Some people would call this Chi or Reiki. Others would call it Brahman or Prana. And there are even some who would even call it the Vril. But those brothers of light that are amongst us, in every city here in America, they call it the Force. This royal secret that the princes of the 32nd degree are sworn to protect is the key to the unlocking of the true nature of ourselves, and that knowledge is the ultimate power they don't want you to know. The ancient royal secret lies within the 4 holy books of the 33rd degree Freemasonry. These make up the 4 corners of the Metatron cube that has evolved from the Ashlar cornerstone. For within these 4 holy books of the craft lies within the 4 force powers one may choose as an initiate of the flame. The force powers of 33rd degree Freemasonry are as such. King James Bible, the Book of Man and Water, holds the power of healing others. This spiritual gift, known as the power of the apostles, is found in 1 Corinthians 12, 1-11. The Book of the Law, the Book of the Eagle and Air, holds the power of controlling others without their knowledge through demonic magic. This is found in the 3rd teaching verses, 70-72. The Quran, the Book of the Lion and Fire, holds the power of controlling others by the power of submission. This is found in Surah 5:33. The Bhagavad Gita and the Holy Vedas, the Book of the Ox and Earth, holds the power of healing oneself. This is found in the 14th teaching, verse 4, in the Bhagavad Gita and the Arthavarda Veda Kanda 10. There are dark occult societies of the Brotherhood all over the world that don't want us to know what we are truly capable of. They don't want us to know that the things we suspect are the extraordinary about ourselves are in fact absolutely real. The last thing these dark people want is for us to know the truth. They know that the profane sheeple who don't read the ancient text will never awaken to what they could be, and that is the ultimate source of their power and control, our spiritual laziness. Whoever these people that don't want us to know the truth know that if the day comes when we seek after knowledge, they will lose all their power, and this is why we see so many distractions to keep us away from the books. Now, I'm not in complete agreement with that paragraph, because we don't need to seek after knowledge for our own power, but we can seek after knowledge to understand how the enemy works. Through the scriptures and holy tradition, we already have an understanding of how God works. And that's why most Christians have been taken from the path of understanding holy tradition, thinking that holy tradition is manipulated and evil. The secret code word of 33rd degree Freemasonry, Metatron. At the 3rd degree Master Mason level of Freemasonry, you are told about the cornerstone. But when you are brought to the honorary 33rd purple degree of the Sovereign Grand General, you are given the true meaning of the cornerstone that evolves into the cube. This is the true meaning of the Masonic ashlar stone. Metatron is the scribe of God. He is seated to the left behind the throne of the Lord. He is the only angel allowed to sit in the presence of God. Enoch, 7th generation from Adam, is Metatron's earthly counterpart. Enoch is mentioned in the Bible as having lived 365 years on earth, and then was brought to heaven without dying. Additional texts found later, Enoch 1, 2, and 3, and used in Jewish mysticism, and various Christian sects claim Enoch was brought through the 10 stages of heaven and turned into Metatron by the Lord. He then was given the task of recording dictation from the angel Uriel, 360 books containing all knowledge in the universe. Later, the Lord himself tells to Enoch the secrets of the creation up to the flood, which are unknown even to the angels. Metatron governs the spot of Kether, the crown, in the Kabbalistic tree of life. Above this spot is only God. Below him are 10 other archangels, and he is referred to as the supreme angel. Enoch, upon meeting God, was turned into a pillar of flame. So bright and tall is his countenance. He is said to hold the scroll of creation and is often depicted holding the sacred geometry symbol called Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is a 3-dimensional structure in which can be found the 5 Platonic solids. These 5 3D shapes, tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron, are constructed from 2-dimensional polygons. A polygon is a shape in which all sides and angles are equal to each other. Really, there are an unlimited amount of polygons. A polyhedron is a 3-dimensional shape created from equal size polygons. For a polyhedron to be regular, it should have the same regular polygon as each of its sides, and each vertex or corner should have the same number of polygons around it. One would think that there would be an unlimited amount of polyhedrons, but there are only 5 Platonic solids. These 5 shapes were named after the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who believed each Platonic solid corresponded with a classical element, and that, therefore, these shapes were the sacred building blocks of all matter and spirit in the universe. The correlations he saw were the tetrahedron, fire, the cube equals earth, the octahedron, air, the icosahedron, water, and the dodecahedron, the universe. Metatron's cube, made up of 13 circles, can also be superimposed over the flower of life, another sacred geometric symbol. The return of Jesus according to the Freemasons. During my Freemasonic infiltration, I was welcomed and a part of several high-level Masonic Bible studies. During these Bible studies, the Masons frequently talked about the return of Yeshua. During these years of 2033 and 2034, the Freemasons are expecting Yeshua to return on his mothership called the New Jerusalem, which they say is currently stationed in front of the planet Venus. Hence, Jesus saying, "I am the bright and morning star." Revelation 22:16. Along with his return, the Masons claim Yeshua will bring with his mothership, along with the fleet of the Melchizedek of 144,000. These will be the smaller ships that follow and surround the mothership. Revelation 14:1-5. Yeshua's father, Jehovah, is the captain of this mothership and is in charge of the Palladian humanoid DNA creation of humans in this particular solar system. There is a greater God that has a higher rank over Jehovah from the Palladian constellation, according to the Freemasons. When Yeshua returns, he will judge the Antichrist. Along with this judgment, the members of the Illuminati and whoever helped the Luciferian plan by taking the RFID chip, along with this judgment, the members of the Illuminati and whoever helped the Luciferian plan by taking the RFID money chip mark of the beast will be imprisoned into the hollow earth for 1,000 years. Revelation 13:7-18. This is why it's important to really understand how to read Revelation, because you know that's not correct. Anyway, let's continue. During the 1,000 years peace, all the technology suppressed by the global Illuminati will be released to the people, and the loyal survivors who kept their faith and who didn't take the RFID money chip will travel the stars and colonize other planets, led by Captain Jehovah, his son Yeshua, and the Order of the Melchizedek. Revelation 24. That sounds like Star Trek, doesn't it? Anyway, let's continue. After the 1,000 years, the Order of the Melchizedek will return to Earth, led by Yeshua, and will fight the final battle against Lucifer and all the former kings of the earth with their legion of damned souls who took the RFID money chip mark of the beast on the valley of Megiddo. Revelation 20:7-10. Now it is important for you to go back and review. Go to the video in this series called Recapitulating. And in the end, I have a audio clip of Michael Heiser explaining Revelation 20. After you listen to that, go to another video which talks about the end times in this series. I think it's the video before Recapitulating, because I really wanted to hit home how to properly read Revelation. And that is something called recapitulation. So understand that, and then you'll understand how to properly read Revelation. And you'll know that Revelation 20 is just a summary of all of Revelation that you read. It's not something that happens 1,000 years later, after 1,000 years of peace, or this great awakening age. Anyway, let's continue. 4 holy books of 33rd degree Freemasonry. The 4 holy books represent the 4 elements of the earth and the 4 angels of the apocalypse: the lion, ox, eagle, and man. Ezekiel 1:7, Revelation 4:7. Christian, King James Bible, the book of man, water, John 1:14, and the word was made flesh. Muslim, Quran, the book of the lion fire, Surah 74:50-51, as if they were alarmed donkeys fleeing from the lion. Hindu, Bhagavad Gita and the 4 Vedas, book of the ox, earth, 10th teaching, verse 28, I am the thunderbolt among weapons, among cattle, the magical wish-granting cow. Luciferian, book of the law, book of the eagle, air, 3rd chapter, verse 51-53. With my hawk's head I peck out the eyes of Jesus, flap my wings in the face of Muhammad, and with my claws tear out the flesh of the Indian and the Buddhist. Alright, we need to take a moment to discuss this section of the Freemasonic Bible study. What you're hearing here is the one world religion. We will be taught that all of these books contain the truth mixed with lies, so that we could never truly find enlightenment for ascension. They will combine these books into one book and one religion for this great awakening age. However, the Bible and the teaching from the Bible has been heavily influenced by the occultists. There are 3,000 denominations. However, there can only be one truth. And many Christians that I've encountered argue so hard for these Freemasonic doctrines. And when I inform them that the original church has been documented, and we can learn all about it, but because the book has the word orthodox in it, they instantly ignore it, or thrust their 1500 AD post-Reformation teachings as a greater authority over the actual documentation during the first century. If you can take a step back, you can see the outright irrational thinking of that action. The book I'm referring to is called Religion of the Apostles, Orthodox Christianity in the First Century. It's the only book of its kind, and you need to read it. In this coming Great Awakening age, you will not be taught the true Christianity. The Great Awakening age teachers will tell you that the Christianity teachings were a lie, and that will be a true statement because it came from Freemasonic teaching. And because the majority of the West are under the Freemasonic churches, those people will fall away. The Orthodox Church is less than 2% of the Christian population in the West, and 4% in the world. The money put into recruiting and entertaining people in the Freemasonic denominations is astounding, and it works. Now, don't get me wrong. The Orthodox bishops do not speak for the Orthodox Christians. They're supposed to be the head teachers, but I believe most are compromised. And the ecumenicism actions happening today are not the view of the true practicing Orthodox Christians. There is a quote I would like to bring up here. The time will come when the people of God have to defend the church from the bishops. Elder Nikolai Gurianov. Study the religion of the apostles and see just how much we have been lied to about the true original Christians. Next, I want to talk about Buddhism. I do not believe most of the stories taught today about Buddha. I believe Buddha did have a gift. He lived about 500 years before Jesus, and he taught balance. Now today, we have the Holy Spirit and the Lamb to aid us in our sins. But before Pentecost, there was no great helper. It was a completely different time than today. There was Torah, and there was no Torah outside Israel. The fallen angels ruled over all the other lands. So, in order to survive, Buddha taught balance so that people wouldn't destroy themselves. Before Jesus, balance was essential. I show the practice of balance in Genesis and other biblical books in my Great Canadian Illusion video. Here's an excerpt from it. This next point is for the agnostic and atheists to really think about. If God does not exist, then why would a monarch obey a simple piece of paper? What true power does a piece of paper have? This isn't an, "Aw, shucks, you got me" moment and the monarch releases you. This is the realization that through your tacit agreement and inability to officially protest your participation, they are granted authority to do whatever they want, and only under threat from God's wrath do they withdraw. There is a real reason why God is being removed from the minds of all men today. And you really need to start researching this. You really need to understand what's going on, because soon God's wrath will be upon us all, and you don't want to be under the threat of what the monarchs, the judges, the corporate leadership have done. Allow me to show you a Freemasonic practice that will also help you to understand how the secret bloodlines and their minions operate. These secret society members operate through ancient teachings passed down through the mystery schools. One of the teachings that they are given is balance. You may know this through the occult symbols that appear all around us. The yin and yang symbol teaches balance, that good and evil must exist in the world. When an individual or an organization performs tasks that are evil, they also must perform tasks that are good. You see this in philanthropy. Before a cult member commits evil, they will donate a vast majority of their wealth to balance their judgment.
This equation has 4 factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to 0. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to 0. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to 0. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
So we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
This process is a doctrine of works. When a man or an organization fall too far in the black or evil, they risk wrath from God. Just to be clear, I'm not talking about salvation, where sins are forgiven if you repent and cease practicing the evils of man. I'm talking about the belief that the works of man being used as a sign of virtue. If an individual is continually destructive, then they will perish before their time. If they practice a life of works where some are evil and some are good, then that balance will keep them from a premature death. And you see this balance in the Seal of Solomon and the floor of the Masons. In the occult world, there must be balance individually and organizationally. It must be present at all times to keep from destruction. This is also why the writ of quo warranto works. It is showing the monarch who swore to God that they would defend God's laws and to continue to keep someone under unjust laws that are repugnant to God is a great act of evil. The bloodlines work hard to get your approval through silence, in the least, because silence is still an agreement, or through signature or oath. Let's look at some biblical examples of kings in their recorded historical actions. None of the kings mentioned in these examples are worshippers of God, but are taught to follow the ancient practices of balance. And excellent examples are shown for when they follow their mystical practice of balance and when they don't follow their mystical practices and perish. Genesis 12, verse 10 to 20. There was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to stay for a while, because the famine was severe. As he approached Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Look, I know that you are a beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but will keep you alive. So tell them you are my sister, so that it may go well for me because of you, and my life will be spared on the account of you." When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. So Abram's wife was taken into the household of Pharaoh. and he did treat Abram well on the account of her. Abram received sheep and cattle, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his household with severe diseases because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and said, "What is this that you have done to me? Why didn't you tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I took her to be my wife? Now here is your wife, take her and go." Pharaoh gave his men orders about Abram, and so they expelled him, along with his wife and all his possessions. To covet the wife of a man with so much blessing caused a curse upon Pharaoh, because this is an evil act. Immediately, Abram and Sarai were cast out of the kingdom, but they got to keep the gifts of the Pharaoh. Because of that great evil, he required balance. Genesis 20. Abraham journeyed from there to the Negev region and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While he lived as a temporary resident in Gerar, Abraham said about his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." So Amalek, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. But God appeared to Amalek in a dream at night and said to him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken, for she is someone else's wife." Now Amalek had not gone near her. He said, "Lord, would you really slaughter an innocent nation? Did Abraham not say to me, 'She is my sister,' and she herself said, 'He is my brother'? I have done this with a clear conscience and with innocent hands." Then in the dream God replied to him, "Yes, I know that you have done this with a clear conscience. That is why I have kept you from sinning against me, and why I did not allow you to touch her. But now give back the man's wife. Indeed, he is a prophet, and he will pray for you. Thus you will live. But if you don't give her back, know that you will surely die, along with all who belong to you." Early in the morning, Amalek summoned all his servants. When he told them about all these things, they were terrified. Amalek summoned Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? What sin did I commit against you that would cause you to bring such great guilt on me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should not be done." Then Amalek asked Abraham, "What prompted you to do this thing?" Abraham replied, "Because I thought, surely no one fears God in this place. They will kill me because of my wife. What's more, she is indeed my sister, my father's daughter, but not my mother's daughter. She became my wife. When God made me wander from my father's house, I told her, 'This is what you can do to show your loyalty to me. Every place we go, say about me, he is my brother.' So Amalek gave sheep, cattle, and male and female servants to Abraham. He also gave his wife Sarah back to him. Then Amalek said, 'Look, my land is before you. Live wherever you please.' To Sarah he said, 'Look, I have given 1,000 pieces of silver to your brother. This is compensation for you, so that you will stand vindicated before all who are with you." Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Amalek, as well as his wife and female slaves, so that they were able to have children. For the Lord had caused infertility to strike every woman in the household of Amalek, because he took Sarah, Abraham's wife. Next, let me show you some quotes from scrolls that Buddha wrote. Near his death, which was 483 BC, Buddha told his followers, "Regardless of how many laws you have kept, or even if you pray 5 times a day, you cannot be free from your sin. Even though you burn yourself, even though I become a hermit or am reborn another 10 times, I also shall not be saved." Manuscript, Praising Temple, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Buddha taught that he was not a god, but only a man, a truth seeker. But on his deathbed, Buddha taught that there would be a future Messiah, the Lord of mercies, who would be able to free men of their sins. Buddha said, "He is the Lord of mercies. His name shall be called the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He is all-knowing, all-wise. He knows all that is in the human heart. He is the Lord of all the angels and of all humans. No one is greater than he." Sutra Pradhat, chapter 3, verse 107. Buddha continued to teach of the Lord of Mercies, that his side has a wound where he was pierced, and his forehead has many scars. He will carry you to heaven, where you will find the triune God. Thus, give up following the old way. A spirit from heaven will come and dwell in your heart. Manuscript, Praising Temple, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Thus, give up your old way. Jesus later fulfilled all of these prophecies. The awesomeness of the revealed Christ should call all peoples to submit to his rule. He is the only one under heaven through whom we can be saved. In view of Buddha's prophecies with the coming King of Kings, one must wonder if the Magi of Matthew 2 were Buddhist priests. There is a different, late, seemingly fondless tradition that the Magi were of mixed races and nationalities. The mixture is hardly supported by the scriptures' description of Magi from the East, who avoid Herod and secretly return to their country. In reality, Buddhism, the practice of balance, was necessary until the time of Jesus. This is also why the occult and those who deny Jesus practice balance today. They don't want to be destroyed by the reality of which we live in, and practicing only evil will destroy you. The modernization of Buddhism ignores Buddha's prophecies of Jesus because, like all other religions, Freemasonry slithered in and distorted the truth into making it a religion of philosophy, and the Buddha's prophecies of Jesus have become a simple inconvenience that one can ignore. It makes you think about the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II. We all know now that those regions were the Christian centers of Japan, and the Shinto and Buddhist practices were left to thrive in those regions. And Japan soon rose to wealth and supremacy in the East under Freemasonic instruction. Buddha told them 500 years before Jesus that they were to give up their old ways. If people call themselves Buddhist, then they're defying their teacher. Let's get back to that Freemasonic Bible study. The Freemason plan to install the Antichrist. It took me nearly a decade to successfully infiltrate the Freemasons with the help of Fritz Springmeier, the author of Bloodlines of the Illuminati. After I was shown the 4 holy books of the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, December 6th, 2019, I was invited to several Masonic esoteric book Bible studies at various locations in the West Los Angeles area. From December 2019 till March of 2020, I was shown and told, along with many other high-ranking Masons in these book studies, how the Freemasons will install the Antichrist and build their third temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem by 2030. Every single move the Freemasons make is backed up by Bible prophecy from the King James Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is how they will do it. Number 1. The Masons must initiate a third world war. This war will start the East versus West that will evolve into a war between the Zionist State of Israel and the Muslim Brotherhood nations, along with all their allies on both sides. This is the prophecy of Ezekiel 38 and 39, along with Albert Pike's Masonic plan for World War III. Number 2. Major cities in the world will be burned by nuclear fire during the Third World War. This will install a global martial law needed to put fear into the hearts of people and to set up the final move for the coming global government. This is the prophecy of the Apocalypse of Abraham, chapter 30, verse 5. The book of the Second Baruch, chapter 27, verse 9. From the Dead Sea Scrolls. Also, this is a prophecy of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 8 in the King James Bible. Number 3. The final move to install the Antichrist is what the Freemasons call Operation Majority. This will be the false alien invasion that submits the world into a global government under control of a single ruler. This is the prophecy of 2 Baruch, chapter 27, verse 8, called the attack of the Shadim. The word Shadim is an ancient Hebrew word that translates to demons. The Masons know very well what the aliens truly are. These UAP crafts will not be piloted by aliens, but instead by humans from various black site bases located in Antarctica. Number 4. Once the Antichrist arrives, the Freemasons will fulfill their sole purpose to build the third temple for the world ruler of the New World Order. This is the prophecy of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 21 to 27, chapter 11, verse 31 to 38. Once in power, the New World Order, or Fourth Kingdom, or what the World Economic Forum calls the Fourth Industrial Revolution, will have 10 economic sectors, led by 10 rulers to resurrect the 10 kings of Atlantis, to glorify the 11th king and ruler of the world. This is the prophecy of Daniel, chapter 2, verse 40-45, and also found in the protocols of the learned elders of Zion. You heard it here first. I know I'm not popular enough to receive any credit once this plan comes into fruition. Sadly, it's not about what you know. Instead, it's about how many followers you have. But during my infiltration of Freemasonry in Los Angeles, that took nearly 10 years to achieve, I learned that this is the plan on how the Freemasons will fulfill their sole purpose, by installing the Antichrist and building the third temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem by 2030. Zechariah chapter 11 verse 17 is the prophecy of the physical description of the coming Antichrist. So don't let anyone tell you that the Antichrist is going to be some corrupt politician. The Bible is very clear about it. The Freemasonic Q code. The Q is the 17th letter in the English alphabet, and when you add, subtract certain Bible verses, the ritual sacrifice of children is found. The Freemasonic global headquarters in London was built in 1717. To cause the social distortion before the World War III, the Freemasons created the Great Awakening to expose themselves, which was a part of their plan since 1871 to eventually install a global religion. See, you're supposed to know what's happening. It's what I've been saying all along. The QAnon Christian movement and the Black Lives Matter nihilistic communist movement is a Hegelian dialectic the Freemasons created for the global society. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. Anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Q code. Apocrypha Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 5, murders of children. 2 Kings 17:17. Fire sacrifice of children. Leviticus 20, verse 3. Sacrifice to Moloch. Psalms 106:37. Sacrifice sons and daughters to devils. Luke 17. Millstone around the neck. Dead Sea Scrolls, Book of Jasher 76:31. Pharaoh took Israeli children's blood to heal his wounds from the plague. Bible verses of Hollow Earth, King James Version. Exodus 20, verse 4. Job 1, verse 7. Psalms 113, verse 6. Ezekiel 26:20. 31:16. Zechariah 1:10 to 11. chapter 4, verse 10, Philippians 2, 9 to 10, Revelation 5, 3, and 5, 13. And that's the end of Joshua Abraham's post. The grand manipulation to manufacture the belief that we are entering the tribulation is extensive, and it's necessary for this coming plan. The goal is to create the falling away of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3 and Matthew 24 verse 10 to 12. Now, after seeing this entire breakdown and what the purple honorary 33rd degree Freemasons believe, can you see the manipulation of all the Hollywood and media personalities announcing their love for Jesus at this particular time? Do you believe they are genuine? We are about to go through mass spiritual, physical, and psychological torture, only to be saved by the good aliens in a false love mantra with mass miracle healings and a brand new religion. The next video will show the next 30 to 50 years and the true vision of the real tribulation. Scripture will be used to support it all.